Today on Notsam Wrestling, what is next for Cody Rhodes? Jade Cargill is officially the WWE Women's Champion. CM Punk is the World Champion. Dominik, well, I've got a plan for Dominik Mysterio. Oh, yeah. And let's go over the possibilities for the John Cena The Last Time Is Now tournament. It's been announced. We'll get into it. This is Notsam Wrestling. Welcome to Notsam Wrestling. And the announcement was made on Saturday night's main event. Now, post Saturday night's main event, we had an emergency podcast go up. I went over my feelings on the fact that we officially are in a time and space where CM Punk is the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Check out that emergency podcast after today's show when you get a chance to hear all my thoughts on that. But we'll talk a little bit about that as well. However, huge announcement made on Saturday night's main event. They went to break, right? Before they went to break, they go, we're going to have some clarity on who John Cena's final opponent could be when we get back. And so they get back, and they announced that John Cena has done a long-form sit-down interview with Tom Rinaldi, which I was like, great, this Tom Rinaldi is an icon of sports media, but let's be honest, if you really wanted to do a wrestling interview with John Cena, you put him here in the Not Sam studio. He picks up his Slammy. We have a great conversation about all things John Cena. Maybe we'll get there eventually. But after that, I said, well, that didn't tell me anything. I thought he was going to tell Tom Rinaldi who his final opponent was going to be, but he didn't. Except then they said, oh, yeah, and one more thing, like Steve Jobs at a vintage Apple event. And they said, there's this. And the promo video ran for the announcement of the Last Time Is Now tournament. Yes. Now, this does kind of play to my thoughts on where they could go in terms of determining John Cena's final opponent. Mine was a little bit more convoluted and complicated. Theirs is a little bit more direct and smooth, which, makes sense in terms of getting people excited about it. But this thing starts in 1 week at the Monday Night Raw in John Cena's hometown. That's November 10th, I want to say, in Boston, Massachusetts. The Last Time Is Now tournament will begin. That will also be John Cena's next WWE appearance and his second to last appearance on Monday Night Raw. He will be making an appearance on that show. He'll be making an appearance on the Monday Night Raw 1 week later at Madison Square Garden. And then he'll be making an appearance about 2 weeks after that at Survivor Series. So, the announcement is made that the tournament is not for a world title opportunity, is not for the championship itself. We already have a champion. This tournament is simply to be the man who is the final person to face John Cena, a question that all of us in this wrestling space have been asking for months and months and months now. Who is it going to be? Well, they clarified, and I'm glad this clarification was made, because some would say, why would you have a tournament for one match? Well, it's because, as John Cena said, and I microanalyzed this whole promo video, John Cena says that for his last match, he would like to see somebody seize the same opportunity that he was given on his first day. That first day when he went face-to-face with Kurt Angle. We're remaking the fact, we're owning, I would say, the fact that the John Cena last match is a tremendous opportunity. And that opportunity has been the center point of the arguments that we've been making behind who should get John Cena's last match, behind whether John Cena should win or lose that last match. All of it has to do with how important this match is, not just to the career of John Cena, but to whoever it is in that match with John Cena. It's one of the biggest matches that WWE could possibly have, is the announced John Cena final match with a year of hype built into it. And so that is the idea, that the tournament is for the opportunity, and the opportunity is having that final match with John Cena, the same opportunity that John Cena feels he received on his first day on the main roster in WWE. It goes back to the real-life mission of John Cena to pay it forward in the world of professional wrestling. He said that stars for this tournament will be chosen at random, but he said it will be a 16-man tournament. Not an 8-man tournament, a 16-man tournament. I'm going to tell you, this is something you should know about me. I love tournaments. I love brackets. I love looking at brackets. I love making tournaments. I love watching tournaments play out. I love the King of the Ring from 93, from 94, from 95. I don't even care that Mabel won that one. 96, I love a little bit less because they only did the final 4 on pay-per-view. I mean, put as many as you want. You know what a great WrestleMania is? WrestleMania 4. Why? Tournament. I love tournaments. And it also kind of makes it clear that, like, well, some of us said, well, if you vacated the World Heavyweight Championship, and if you had a non-finish at Saturday night's main event, you could have a tournament to find out who's going to be the World Heavyweight Champion. Well, there already was a tournament in the pipeline. If we're doing a tournament for Cena, we can't exactly, if we're doing a tournament for Cena, and we have to build to War Games, we can't exactly also have a tournament for the World Heavyweight Championship, which kind of clarifies why it was so important to have it wrapped up as quickly as it was and to have somebody with that title, because there's enough floating out there as it is. So in this promo package, John Cena says there'll be 16 men chosen at random, superstars from Raw, from SmackDown, from NXT, and maybe some faces that don't even work here. Now, that line has led people to speculate wildly. Of course, Edge's name is going to come up. Maybe a Batista name will come up. I think that phrasing is designed to get people talking like that, is designed to build that hype and to build the anticipation. But the reality is that WWE now has relationships with other properties. And I think that some faces that don't even work here probably has a lot less to do with legends and a lot less to do with people that are signed to competitive companies and a lot more to do with TNA, AAA, companies like that. But Raw, SmackDown, NXT, faces that don't work here is kind of saying, to me, I read it as anybody that's under that WWE or WWE adjacent umbrella. And I think at this point, AAA, TNA, those are WWE adjacent in the sense that they have that built-in partnership. I mean, you could even say maybe Pro Wrestling Noah might be in that boat too, with as cooperative as WWE and Noah have been with each other. He says, stars with whom I have a storied history with and more that I've never gone one-on-one with. So that's clarified as well. You're not just looking when you make this tournament at people that have never had their John Cena match. You're looking at people who maybe have had many John Cena matches as well. And that's kind of where we left it. He says, by the time we get to December 13th, which is the final Saturday night's main event, my opponent will not be given to me. He will be hard-earned. Okay? So all we know is it's a 16-man tournament, Raw, SmackDown, NXT et al. People who have had matches with Cena, people who have never had matches with Cena. And it ends with a final opponent selected to face John Cena on December 13th. Now, I also want to go over the superstars that were in this promo, because that can't be ignored when we're looking at possibilities of where this tournament can go, okay? So I say that I think you could do it where you have the finals at Survivor Series, right? Survivor Series is on the 29th of November. And after Survivor Series, you've got 2 weeks, I want to say, before Saturday night's main event. I believe it's 2 TVs before the 13th. So you have 2 Raws, 2 SmackDowns, whatever it is, after Survivor Series, before Saturday night's main event. John Cena will not be at those TVs. His last match before, or his last appearance before Saturday night's main event will be Survivor Series. Now, you could say that that's all the more reason to not finish the tournament at Survivor Series, to actually finish the tournament on those TV shows, so you still have that essence of John Cena. But I would rather spend the 2 weeks building this match. I would rather spend the 2 weeks talking about the match that is going to happen, as opposed to still speculating, having a real slow play of this 16-man tournament. Now, being a 16-man tournament, you could slow play it, but the fact that you have it on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT would mean that theoretically you can have tournament matches on every show, which to me, you can get done in 3 weeks, right? The 10th, the 17th, and whatever, 17th, and then the 20, what is it, the 24th, maybe? Monday Night Raws and then the NXTs and SmackDowns that go along with those 3 weeks leading up to Survivor Series before you get to a final. And then you end up with I'll get into Survivor Series. So featured in this promo was, under the heading of wrestlers I've had a storied past with, Miz, Rusev, Solo Sikoa, and Sheamus. Under the category of wrestlers I've never gone one-on-one with was LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, which is crazy if there's never been a John Cena-Drew McIntyre match, Penta, Carmelo Hayes, Bronson Reed, Gunther, and Dominik Mysterio. Now, I don't think Gunther is in there by mistake. I think I think the return of Gunther, it might even happen on Raw. Like, it is upon us. There's no way they're throwing Gunther in that promo package and just being like, yeah, maybe he'll be in it, maybe he won't. I'm going to go through where I think this tournament could go. Not should, not will, just a scenario that I have for this tournament, okay? I'm going to say that I was making this list of who should be in the tournament, right? And to me, just because I like to have rules, right? I wanted to do something mathematical between the brands, and I wanted to take into account those superstars being deliberately put into this promo, because I don't think it was a mistake. So, for the sake of this fantasy ballot, this fantasy bracketology, every superstar that was in that promo, I'm putting in the tournament, except for one. I'm not putting Dominik Mysterio in the tournament because I don't think I have any current champions in the tournament, and also because John Cena has 4 appearances left. I think Dominik Mysterio should get one of John Cena's remaining matches before the final match. I do not think Dominik Mysterio should win a tournament and face John Cena last. I think Dominik Mysterio should face John Cena for the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series in San Diego, California. And because of that, I don't think he should be in the tournament. Everybody else, and I'll get back to that, by the way. I've got a lot to say about my plan for that. Everybody else, I think, from that video package should be in the tournament. And I think that you've got Survivor Series with the 2 War Games matches, John Cena versus Dominik Mysterio, and the John Cena tournament finals. And you can run the semifinals the night before on SmackDown if you wanted to. The same reason I'm not putting Dominik Mysterio in the tournament. Well, not the exact same reason, but because there's a logic behind current champions, which I could be mistaken, but I'm almost positive none of these people have titles. I think, well, I'll get back. I'll get to that in a minute. I saw people kind of getting out there with who that would want to be in the tournament. I don't think I had any idea that Brooks Jensen was Bull Buchanan's son. B squared from the original John Cena run. Brooks Jensen said that he wanted to be in the tournament to avenge his father, and the worst part of his career was done to him by John Cena. I love the gimmick. I had no idea. I thought it was great that he pointed that out. I do not have Brooks Jensen in my tournament. I would love to have Mike Santana in this tournament representing TNA, but I don't have the room, and I'm not putting a world champion in the tournament. I don't want a world champion to lose in the tournament, and Mike Santana is a brand new TNA world champion. So I say Mike Santana takes care of TNA world champion business and lets this tournament be its own thing. I broke it down to, because I don't think that you should have an equal allocation between Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and non-WWE people. Because you could do 4, 4, 4, and 4 to get you to 16, but I don't think that's right. I think that the WWE main roster should be heavily represented in the tournament, more so than any other brand. In my mind, I've got 6 spots for Raw, 6 spots for SmackDown, 2 spots for NXT, and 2 spots for non-WWE talent. Some people that I wanted to give a shout out to that did not make my tournament. Jeff Hardy would be an incredible person in this tournament. It's not the way I have it going, but Jeff Hardy coming in from TNA to do this tournament would be amazing and something I would never be upset about. I think Grande Americano, who I don't have in my tournament, would be great in this tournament and a standout. I think Mr. Iguana from AAA would be a lot of fun in this tournament. I don't think he'd make it far. I don't think anybody believes that he would ever face John Cena, and therefore I didn't put him in my 16. And Finn Balor is probably the one that I would have loved to have put in this tournament, but did not. And that's really because when you look at it, I took Dom out of the tournament because I'm putting Dom in a match with John Cena at Survivor Series. The other 6 representatives of the Monday Night Raw roster were in the promo already. And I'm keeping the people in the promo on this thing, right? For Raw, I've got Bronson Reed, and he said it's totally at random. I think that that's a key verbiage in this outline of this tournament. Therefore, you don't have to kind of explain why one guy's in and not the other. But realistically, Bronson Reed is in this tournament. And the reason Braun Breaker is not in this tournament is because there are 2 options. Either Braun Breaker enters the tournament and kills everybody, or Braun Breaker's not in the tournament. There was a time where I wanted Braun Breaker to have John Cena's last match. That time is not the time that we're in anymore. Because Brock Lesnar beat John Cena at WrestlePalooza. Why did Brock Lesnar beat John Cena? I want the answer to that question to be so that Braun Breaker could beat Brock Lesnar instead of having John Cena's final match. Next year, I want Braun Breaker to beat Brock Lesnar. And that's how Braun Breaker gets that Cena rub, because he gets the Cena rub and the Lesnar rub if he beats this version of Brock Lesnar. So no Braun Breaker in this tournament, but yes, Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed, Penta, because he's Penta, LA Knight, because we still have not had, there was that moment, the tension that the 2 of them had when John Cena returned, I don't know, last year or the year before. But they ended up in a tag team together, right? Remember when the 2 of them tag teamed? And there were a lot of us that wanted to see LA Knight versus John Cena. So LA Knight's in the tournament. Sheamus is in the tournament because part of this tournament is, and I think the beauty of a tournament to settle on John Cena's final opponent is we've only got so many slots. But now we can take a lot of those names because there are so many names. People are going, well, this match has to happen. That match has to happen. Well, all those names should be in the tournament, so at least there is some kind of story to John Cena's final match that is being reflected upon those characters. Because you can do a lot of things in a tournament where there's enough energy in that John Cena final match where Sheamus gets a little rub from it, from being in this tournament. And bring forward the battles between Sheamus and John Cena. Bring forward how much people want to see Sheamus versus John Cena. It gives you the opportunity to do that in this tournament. By the same token, Rusev is in this tournament, not just because he was in the video package, but also because bring forward the fact that at WrestleMania 31 Push Play, Rusev rode in a tank. It was one of the biggest matches in Rusev's career, and he hadn't even been in WWE for a year when he had it. He took John Cena to the limit at WrestleMania 31, and Rusev has only gotten better and better and better. Can you imagine if Rusev ended John Cena's career? Can you imagine if Rusev beat John Cena in his last match? Unlikely, but that's why you put him in the tournament. That's how you push it forward. And of course, Gunther, because you got to have Gunther in. You put him up there. He's perfect, right? Gunther's in the tournament from Raw. On SmackDown, I've got Carmelo Hayes. I've got Drew McIntyre. I've got The Miz. I've got Solo Sikoa. All of those people were in the package. Now, also, Carmelo Hayes, what could be more perfect than Carmelo Hayes? He finally breaks up that tag team with The Miz. He's finally ready to branch out. He is him. If there's anybody on the roster that kind of reminds you of a young John Cena who maybe hasn't found himself yet, Somebody that you look at and you're like, that dude's got all the potential in the world. And he does have that star power in him. He just hasn't found that thing yet. He hasn't gotten that moment yet. That's the story you tell of Carmelo Hayes. Drew McIntyre, I mean, and we'll talk about it, but coming off of Saturday night's main event, there's so many people going, what's even the future of Drew McIntyre? How many times can we watch Drew McIntyre lose title matches? Well, what if he can put that all behind him and come forward, blow through this tournament, and beat John Cena in John Cena's last match? Then everything is fine again. The Miz publicly asked for the John Cena match. The Miz went on interviews. We talked about The Miz as a potential John Cena final opponent. Solo Sikoa is one of the last people before this run started that beat John Cena one-on-one. Simple as that. I beat John Cena one-on-one before. I'm going to beat him again. And it's going to be the thing that puts the MFTs on the map. Now I'm adding 2 more people onto the SmackDown side. I'm adding Shinsuke Nakamura because I think that's a fantasy match. I think that Shinsuke has a new energy now that he's a babyface again, playing that old music. Plus, every Shinsuke match is going to be good. And I'm adding somebody that got the opportunity to have a knockdown, drag-out match with Ilya Dragunov. I'm putting Nathan Frazier as a dark horse in this tournament. I think Nathan Frazier, this is a tournament, and again, is Nathan Frazier going to get a match with John Cena? Spoiler alert, no. But the John Cena tournament is a way to put eyeballs on matches because of the John Cena name to it that wouldn't otherwise be there without John Cena having to wrestle everybody in this tournament. It's a way of putting a small amount of that John Cena energy into this Nathan Frazier. And I think he's the perfect candidate to accept it. We go to NXT. I got 2 choices in NXT. And the 2 choices that I pick in NXT are 2 guys who you want to just have more exposure to the main roster audience, and 2 guys that are guaranteed to be difference makers on the main roster. My 2 people are Javon Evans and Trick Williams. Those are my 2 selections from NXT. Brooks Jensen, great push forward with the story about B squared, but I don't think anybody would buy it from Brooks Jensen in terms of moving forward in the tournament. Josh Briggs is somebody I consider because he's the new guy that is being built up in NXT, but I just don't think it's time for Josh Briggs yet the way it is for Trick Williams and Javon Evans. Oba Femi is a name that's going to get pushed forward. Oba Femi is a name that a lot of people are going to want in this tournament, but I would argue that Oba Femi has the same thing as Braun Breaker, which is the 2 options are Oba Femi enters the tournament and kills everybody, or Oba Femi shouldn't be in the tournament. And it's like, if Oba Femi enters, if he were to enter the tournament and kill everybody in his debut, where does he go next? Where does Oba Femi possibly go next? I think that there's too much upside potential to Oba Femi. I think that you could do more for him by giving him a Royal Rumble debut, by giving him a debut in a U.S. Open title scenario, like something that is just his, not attached to anybody else. Because I think the last thing you want to do is take a debuting star on the main roster and say that's the guy who had John Cena's last match, or it's too much too soon. Now I got 2 spots that remain. 2 spots for people that don't work for WWE. This one, and maybe it's because I work with him on Sirius every Tuesday, but to me, it's somebody who has a history with John Cena. It's somebody who would certainly get a pop. I would put Matt Cardona in the tournament. And some people would, and some people wouldn't. Some people would agree with me, and some people would not agree with me. But I've got 2 spots for people outside of the WWE that I can put in the tournament. I think that if I'm going to put somebody in, I want them either connected to John Cena somehow, or, they're going to somehow benefit from this within a WWE bubble. And for me, the fact that Matt Cardona is connected to that history of John Cena, and the 2 of them have a relationship, and we could sit there and say, wouldn't that be interesting? If Matt Cardona ended up going all the way, if this is the way he got back into WWE after people have been asking for it for months and weeks and days and years, And the other person has to be Joe Hendry. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind. Joe Hendry is in this tournament. To not be in this tournament would be nuts. I think Joe Hendry is in. Matt Cardona and Joe Hendry. So I've got Gunther, Rusev, Sheamus, LA Knight, Penta, Bronson Reed, Carmelo Hayes, Drew McIntyre, The Miz, Nathan Frazier, Solo Sikoa, Shinsuke Nakamura, Javon Evans, Trick Williams, Joe Hendry, and Matt Cardona as the 16 men that I have in the Last Time Is Now tournament. My first round goes like this. Guys, we're going to get right back to it, but falling for a scam is the worst, and it happens more and more in this day and age. Not that long ago, my wife had fallen for a scam. It was just one of these phishing scams that they call you, they convince you that there's somebody else, they convince you that you need them. And by the time that you realize what's happening, it's too late. I mean, we had to call the bank, try to figure out, what had gone wrong, how long it had been going on for. It was a nightmare. When you get the Cash App card, not only do you get access to a ton of perks and benefits like exclusive early access to nationwide concerts, pre-sales, or discounts on popular brands, but you also have extra security with the power to instantly lock or unlock your card right from your phone in just one tap. You don't have to wait for customer service. If a suspicious transaction pops up on your card, Cash App has your back by automatically declining the purchase and sending you a heads up to confirm if it's you or not. Behind the scenes, you can rest assured knowing your account balance is protected 24/7 by fraud monitoring. Spend with peace of mind today and order a Cash App card in the app or at cash.app/card. For a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use code SECURE10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debt cards issued by Sutton Bank, or debit cards are issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Discounts and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Penta versus Rusev. Coming right off of Saturday night's main event, playing right into that rivalry, because again, a lot of these matches I have, why not play into that rivalry and add this heavy stipulation to it? I've got Penta beating Rusev. Bronson Reed versus LA Knight. Everybody thinks it's going to be Bronson Reed. It ends up being LA Knight. And everybody goes, whoa! Because LA Knight's one of those guys that everybody thinks, oh, you're teasing us, but he's not going to win. You're teasing us, he's not going to win. And you can paint the picture like Bronson Reed is going to go very far, and you might even argue, oh, they're going to give it to the Vision. Bronson Reed's going to win this thing and squash John Cena. You can tell that story. And then all of a sudden, LA Knight wins. And maybe there's interference and maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just a BFT that he sneaks up from behind. Either way, you're going to be able to continue to tell a story with LA Knight and the Vision, LA Knight and Bronson Reed coming off of this tournament. But I have LA Knight winning that match. In the final Raw match, which I actually have seeded as the 2 match, Sheamus versus Gunther. And I mean, let this one go. Let it go as long as you want. Sheamus is going to give it the all, but Gunther is going to win that match. Over on SmackDown, first match up is, of course, Solo Sikoa versus Shinsuke Nakamura. They're in a rivalry right now. The MFTs are in a rivalry with that ragtag group involving Sammy and Shinsuke and Rey Fenix and all of them. I've got Solo Sikoa beating Shinsuke Nakamura in the first round. Carmelo Hayes versus The Miz. They're both in the tournament. They're paired up together. The first match between the two ex-partners happened here in the first round, and Carmelo Hayes beats The Miz. The Miz is furious. Now Carmelo Hayes has not only taken that tag team away, but Carmelo Hayes has made it so The Miz is not going to get his John Cena match. Because if you're going to make the John Cena match a prize, make it a prize. And you can build other rivalries off of it. The Miz loses his John Cena match because Carmelo Hayes beats him. Then you have Drew McIntyre versus Nathan Frazier. Now, everybody going in is going to think that we're going to get some 1, 2, 3 kid stuff going on here. That Drew McIntyre is in this phase right now where he's losing these matches and he's in a fragile mental state. Except not here. Drew McIntyre beats Nathan Frazier. The little engine that could simply couldn't. And Drew starts to build on that, on that confidence that he's been lacking. Coming off of a loss to Cody at Saturday night's main event and a loss to Cody at WrestlePalooza, Drew McIntyre beats Nathan Frazier. Then you go over to NXT, and you have Javon Evans versus a mystery opponent. It's Matt Cardona. However, Javon Evans does beat Matt Cardona because people are going to want Matt Cardona to advance. So if he's not going to advance, you better make sure a real babyface beats him. And unfortunately, hey now, the dream is over. Javon Evans beats Matt Cardona, and Trick Williams has a mystery opponent. It's Joe Hendry. And Joe Hendry beats Trick Williams. Joe Hendry moves on to the Elite Eight, and Trick Williams is furious. And this either puts Trick Williams on a path of rage in NXT or brings him up to the main roster. But he can't believe that this has been taken away from him. Now we get into the Elite Eight, right? We'll go from the bottom. We've now got Javon Evans versus Joe Hendry on NXT. Javon Evans is going to beat Joe Hendry. I have this structured the same way Javon Evans is the only guy that could beat Matt Cardona and not get the heat for it. Javon Evans is going to be the only guy who can beat Joe Hendry and not get the heat for it. And there's hugs afterwards. Joe Hendry respects Javon Evans, and Javon Evans moves on to the Final Four. Over on SmackDown, you've got Drew McIntyre versus Carmelo Hayes, and now momentum is building. Now you're thinking, oh, maybe it is going to be Carmelo. Maybe he is going to get that opportunity. And Drew McIntyre is going to ruin it for everybody. Drew McIntyre beats Carmelo Hayes. Drew McIntyre is in the Final Four. You go over to the Raw side. You have Penta versus Gunther. Penta's not enough. Gunther destroys Penta. And then you have an interpromotional battle going back to the fights that the Bloodline had. LA Knight versus Solo Sikoa. Even the MFTs aren't enough. LA Knight advances. So your Final Four in this John Cena tournament are LA Knight versus Gunther and Drew McIntyre versus Javon Evans. And the reason I love that Final Four is because on one end, you've just got a classic ultra heel versus an ultra babyface. Superhero LA Knight versus supervillain Gunther. And then on the other side of the bracket, you have the ultimate underdog versus a colossus. Drew McIntyre versus Javon Evans. And you realize that the supervillain that the superhero LA Knight is facing is actually Doomsday himself, as Gunther beats LA Knight. You go to Drew McIntyre and Javon Evans, you see that Gunther has beaten LA Knight. And the night before Survivor Series, you're going, oh my God, Javon's going to do it. Can you imagine what it's going to look like? Gunther versus Javon Evans? Is Javon Evans really going to beat Gunther? The answer is no, because he's not even going to beat Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre beats Javon Evans. And we go, what? And we go into Survivor Series, which is where I've decided the tournament finals will be. And that's just my decision, not an official announcement. And the final match in this John Cena, the last time is now tournament, is Gunther versus Drew McIntyre. And Gunther and Drew tear each other limb from limb. Drew takes Gunther to the absolute limit. Gunther takes Drew to the absolute limit. And on this given night, Gunther is able to defeat Drew McIntyre. Gunther is the one that wins this tournament because there was never any other way to do it. Gunther wins the tournament because he's Gunther. Because you have the opportunity to allow one man to retire both John Cena and Goldberg in the same calendar year. You have the opportunity to build somebody, a heel, on the level that you haven't been able to do since Brock Lesnar in 2002. You have the opportunity to create this monster in Gunther that will be totally unstoppable. You'll be able to do whatever you want with this Gunther. After this, you talk about recovering after losing at WrestleMania or losing at SummerSlam. That's fine, because those losses are going to mean even more for the people that beat him, because he comes back and he beats Goldberg in Goldberg's retirement. And then not only does he win this whole tournament, beating Rusev and Penta and LA Knight and Drew McIntyre, 4 of the best opponents WWE possibly has to offer, but then he beats John Cena on the 13th of December at Saturday night's main event. And John Cena can still do a farewell speech after the match, after Gunther leaves. But ultimately, as of the 15th of December, Monday, December 15th, you're looking at a new Gunther. A Gunther who retired, who in the same calendar year won the World Heavyweight Championship, retired Goldberg, and retired John Cena. And nobody in the history of the business will have a year like that after Gunther. At the same time, Drew McIntyre will get up after losing to Gunther, and he will shake Gunther's hand, and he'll say thank you for the match. And he will leave with his head held high. He won't be in shambles. He won't be in tears. He won't feel cheated. He will shake Gunther's hand. Gunther will respond in kind, and Drew McIntyre will leave with his head held high. Because coming off of this tournament, Drew McIntyre will be on SmackDown, and he will be mocked by a heel. Could be Solo Sikoa. Could be Aleister Black. Could be whoever you want to do. A heel will mock Drew McIntyre for all of his failing attempts, for the fact that he could not beat Cody Rhodes for the World Championship, for the fact that he could not beat Gunther in this John Cena finals, for the fact that he did not even get the John Cena match. Drew McIntyre will be mocked. And you know what Drew will say? He'll say, I mean, I may not be perfect, but I'm a hell of a lot better than you. And in that moment, Drew McIntyre turns babyface. Because what else are you going to do with Drew McIntyre at this point? He's had the biggest matches, and he's ultimately lost. He had the big match with CM Punk. The whole story that was a year long, he ultimately lost, as he should. He didn't ever get to conquer the bloodline. He had this series of matches with Cody Rhodes. He lost. Clearly, his strategy isn't working. I personally think that we've gone as far as we're going to go. I don't think Drew McIntyre has to change a ton. I think there are quite a few people, and I'll talk about them, that it would refresh things a lot if they just simply turned. And I would start with Drew McIntyre turning babyface after this tournament. People love Drew McIntyre. People are mad that he keeps losing. I think you turn him babyface. And I think you do it by having him shake hands with Gunther, losing honorably, and then having a heel make fun of him, mock him for losing, and then him having a problem with the heel. And right there, it's done. Drew McIntyre's a babyface. You don't have to explain any previous actions. You don't have to do any big character changes. You just direct Drew's energy to the heel, and you're good to go. So in this moment, if you have Drew McIntyre and Gunther in the finals and Gunther wins, you have the opportunity to create a super villain to the nth degree with Gunther, and the ability to turn Drew McIntyre into a massive babyface going into 2026. To me, I could see it going a multitude of different ways, but that's a way that I would like for it to go. Because I will tell you, we'll talk about it. Coming off of Saturday night's main event, there were a lot of people who had a lot of things to say about Drew McIntyre. Now, look, I do want to say this about Saturday night's main event. Don't let anybody, any internet critic, anybody, trick you into thinking that CM Punk winning the world title is not a special thing. That CM Punk winning the world title, oh, it happened too fast, or oh, it's just kind of there, oh, just kind of whatever. It's not kind of whatever. 2 years ago, CM Punk did the unthinkable by walking back into a WWE arena, and now he's the world champion. If you had told me in 2022, that CM Punk would be the world heavyweight champion, my jaw would be on the floor. It's just there's so much stuff that's happened in the last 2 years. Everything has become believable. But it wasn't that long ago that this was totally unbelievable. And yet here we are. You saw the picture, I hope, that was posted online after Survivor Series. Jade Cargill, Cody Rhodes, Ricky Saints, and CM Punk all together, all wearing world championships. I mean, that says everything. Guys, we'll get right back to it, but let's be honest. One of the reasons that we need an escape, we need a wrestling podcast like this, is because life has been a little bit crazy. Whether it's the state of the world going on around us all the time, whether it's work, personal life, blending together, things get really, really busy, really, really tense, really, really stressful. You know what can help you unwind at the end of the day? Cornbread Hemp's CBD gummies. Yes, they only use the best part of the hemp plant. That's the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD that you're going to find, formulated to help relieve discomfort, stress, sleeplessness, and all products are third-party lab tested and USDA organic to ensure safety and purity. Here I have the Blueberry Breeze, which are delicious. All kinds of different flavors that you can get into, and all have different specialties that if you check the website, you can find exactly what you need. Right now, Notsam Wrestling listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/Notsam and use code Notsam at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/Notsam and use code Notsam that you need. It's very similar to that picture that all the champions took together that CM Punk was in, that Cody Rhodes was in, that Zack Ryder was in, that Kofi Kingston was in, Beth Phoenix was in. Bryan Danielson was in. Remember that photo of all the new champions? And then, they started losing their titles quickly. But in that moment, it was like this whole new wave. And now look, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Although the context behind that photo of Jade Cargill, Ricky Saints, Cody Rhodes, and CM Punk, very different context. But still, at least cousins, if not siblings, in spirit. We found out the next Saturday night's main event is January 24th, which is a week before next year's Royal Rumble. After the 13th, obviously. We're going to do the John Cena Saturday night's main event, and then it'll be January 24th. So it'll be a week before the Rumble. So it'll be an old school Saturday night's main event go-home show. The way Saturday night's main event was maybe it was the main event, was a go-home show before WrestleMania 4. You know what I mean? Where the angle was set up for WrestleMania 4. And I guess it wasn't, a week before, but the angle was set up for WrestleMania 4 with the tournament and everything because of the two referees. But there were times when that's what Saturday night's main event was used for. And I hope that that's what it's used for the Royal Rumble. But I brought up Drew and why this tournament could be good for Drew, because he lost at Saturday night's main event. And there are people that will convince you that he was buried at Saturday. He was not buried, even slightly. He's Drew. He's pretty untouchable. But it's not the strongest look. There does need to be a change for Drew. I will say that. We had a referee who had the worst positioning in the history of officials refereeing this match. Almost bumped into a couple times, and then finally bumped into at the very end when Cody took him down. Drew McIntyre brings the belt in the ring. Cody Rhodes, who is the person who made contact with the official, then DDT'd Drew McIntyre on the WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre is obviously going to object to that, because there was a stipulation that if Cody lost the match by DQ, Drew would become champion. That was added in a pretty great segment, contract signing segment on SmackDown. But I think that really Drew will be able to complain about it, but also it's all you could talk out of all of it, because Drew will probably point out that Cody should have been disqualified for making contact with the official, which should make Drew the champion. Then Cody should be disqualified for DDTing him on the belt, which should make Drew the champion. But it doesn't really hold water, because even my son, who I was watching the show with, he's 8. And he goes, "Yeah, but Dad, Cody didn't cheat because Drew brought the belt in the ring." And I go, "I have raised you right, my son. You understand the logic behind this pro wrestling storytelling." So it is the type of thing that Drew can complain about and feel like a victim of. But in reality, Cody doesn't really lose his credibility in that. It's not a heel move. It's just the move of a babyface who's not a complete idiot, which I think it's good that Cody is in that position where he's like, yeah, I'm a good guy, but I'm also smart. You know what I mean? I'm not a fool. I think we will get another Cody Rhodes Drew McIntyre match. I don't think that. I mean, I think the WrestlePalooza one was probably the most definitive of all of them. I think that this one at Saturday Night's Main Event was not definitive. I think obviously the SmackDown match was not definitive. So we could get another Drew Cody match. I would prefer that Drew go the route that I just kind of put together in this tournament as instead. And then, a question everybody asks is, who's next for Cody Rhodes, right? Because I told you that you build up Drew McIntyre in this tournament and you find guys that he can start beating again. And you get if you're going to you have him beat everybody except for Gunther in this tournament. So he's got wins now over Nathan Frazier, over Carmelo, over Javon, and then he loses to Drew. Now, I know what you're saying. Those are all smaller guys, but in reality, he gets to now have dominant wins over people. That's what Drew needs building up to this tournament. And then you can have him, when he turns, have heels that are built up a little bit more, and Drew can beat them as well. So now you're building up Drew. But what's next for Cody? Well, I think for Cody, people talk about Cody turning. I don't think Cody's turning. I don't think Jey Uso's turning, even though Jey Uso seems, in a state of mind about losing the match to CM Punk. All right, you all got what you wanted, or something to that effect. I hope you're all happy. Whatever he wrote on Instagram after CM Punk won the title, and he wrote a middle finger emoji. So I don't know, maybe he is going to turn heel, but I don't think Jey should turn heel. I don't see him turning heel. I don't think Cody should turn heel. I don't see him turning heel. I don't know why people take these successful baby faces and go, okay, let's turn them now. No, there's still plenty of juice to be squeezed out of this berry. Cody doesn't need to be a heel. He needs heels to fight. And I think that if it's up to me, and I said it, over the weekend in my emergency podcast, I think that Randy Orton would be a fabulous opponent for Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. I think at some point Randy Orton turns next year, early next year, and we get to Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. And whether maybe Randy wins the Elimination Chamber, and then he makes it, seem like it's going to be all good. I mean, like I said, I've said this a million times, but Randy and Cody, you can go full Andre Hogan. Randy Orton's turn can be as elaborate as Andre the Giant's turn because it's justified. Randy Orton waited the entire year of the first Cody title run, never got a shot. Then Cody lost the title. Randy got a shot immediately after Cody lost the title. John Cena gave Randy the first title shot. But then what happened? Cody wins the title back at SummerSlam. Randy still hasn't gotten an opportunity at the title. Why, if John Cena was champion, can Randy get a shot at the title within a month? And when Cody's the champion, it never comes. It's literally the WrestleMania 3 buildup. Andre was the best. Andre was undefeated. Andre was everything except he was Hogan's friend. And Hogan would never defend the title against Andre. So what does Andre have to do? Turn heel and take everything from Hogan. It's the same story between Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. So I think that that's so good it should be WrestleMania. I don't think that has anything to do with what's going on now. In the meantime, I think there are a couple of things that you could do. I think at some point, Ilya Dragunov, when he loses the United States Championship, can snap a little bit. And I think Ilya could turn heel. I think as big as Ilya has gotten and as believable as he has been during all of his matches, and I think all three of his United States Championship matches have really won the crowd over to Ilya. I've not met anybody who doesn't love Ilya Dragunov and does not believe in Ilya Dragunov and does not want to watch Ilya Dragunov matches. Now, I like him as a babyface because that means that maybe we will get a Gunther versus Ilya match, and who knows, maybe that's a WrestleMania match. Maybe Ilya's not turning heel anytime soon because we're going to do Randy and Cody, and we're going to do Roman Reigns and CM Punk, and we're going to do Braun Breaker and Brock Lesnar And then we're going to do Gunther and Ilya. I mean, it would be insane if we got all those matches at WrestleMania. Insane. I love that WrestleMania. So if we're not going to turn Ilya right away, because when we do, I think Ilya, and maybe that's for post-WrestleMania, because I think Ilya Dragunov can be full Russian menace to Cody Rhodes, Rocky Balboa. I mean, I think Ivan Drago to Rocky Balboa could be Ilya Dragunov to Cody Rhodes. I really think it's got more potential than people realize. Full-on Russian menace. I mean, Cody Rhodes is a throwback to the 1980s with the fact that he is an effective, true babyface in the most flattering and best possible way. Why don't we get a good old-fashioned Russian heel in Ilya Dragunov? I think it'd be great. What do we do in the meantime? What do we do before then? You know who could use a heel turn? You know who could use a refresh? Sami Zayn. I think Sami Zayn. So if you look at SmackDown this week, Cody Rhodes complimented Sami Zayn on his reign as United States champion. Sami Zayn appreciated and accepted the compliment, but Sami did the belt look. The same look that Jey Uso gave the title, the same look that Randy Orton gave the title. Sami Zayn gave the title the same look. And if you look at the promo between Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes after Sami Zayn left, Cody keeps looking over his shoulder like, what the hell was that? Like he noticed that Sami Zayn had done something, that he noticed that Sami Zayn had given his title that look. Is he looking at my girl? What was that? Why did he say hi like that? That's what Cody Rhodes was doing. It was almost like Cody Rhodes wanted to look directly at Sami Zayn and to say, enough! I got it now. Enough! But he was not there yet. What if Sami Zayn is the next victim of a Cody Rhodes? Enough! I don't know. I don't want to be that guy. So now when you email in, you can request that one too. So I think that you know, with Sami, it's like, I don't think that people truly believe he's an underdog anymore. I don't think people believe that, you know? And I think that what was once his story of being a world champion in WWE, from the babyface perspective, Jey Uso already told that story. It's the exact story, and Jey told it. So what if Sami Zayn's quest to be a world champion in WWE turns him mad, turns him bad, turns him mean, turns him into a heel? And not a fun heel, not a heel that hates Johnny Knoxville, not a heel that's a conspiracy victim, not that type of a heel. I mean a downright bad guy. And someone who's a real threat, because when Sami Zayn wants to, he can be a real threat. He's got more size on him than he gets credit for. And he's got a lot more ability in him than I think people even realize. He's one of the best. And he's never been that real main event villain. And I think Sami Zayn could tell a hell of a story as a top tier bad guy. And I think people I think people are ready for it. Because I think people love Sami Zayn, but they feel like they've heard the story before. And that to me is when you know it's time to change a character. Not just because you can, not just because, well, everybody loves him, let's turn him heel. No. I think that when you feel like, okay, like the story's been told, that's when it's time to flip. And I mean, that to me is why the Sami turn, and I say do the Sami turn soon. Because if you do that Sami turn, and that's what takes Cody Rhodes for the last part of 2025 and into 2026. And maybe you even do a Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes WWE Championship match at the Royal Rumble. And then you'll have people wildly speculating, well, what if Sami Zayn wins the title? And then Kevin Owens returns and wins the Rumble. And then you have Sami and Kevin. Same way, by the way, that we were saying at last year's Royal Rumble. What if Kevin Owens beats Cody Rhodes? And then Sami Zayn wins the Rumble. And you could do Sami. I mean, you're going to do it. We're going to do it. It's what we do. But if Sami turns on Cody, and just as Cody is catching his breath, Randy turns on Cody. Well, now you're going to have this great sort of come to Jesus where eventually Cody has to ask, who are my friends? And Cody will have to take that journey. Who can he trust? Who are his friends? How lonely does it get on top? And that'll be the struggle that Cody goes through after Sami turns and Randy turns. And just as he's going through that struggle and gets past Randy Orton at WrestleMania, here comes that Russian menace, Ilya Dragunov, on the SmackDown after WrestleMania. Possible. Another person, and I keep talking about people switching. I mean, but look at how effective it was for Jade Cargill, right? Jade Cargill has this great match. I think the best thing she did, by the way, after her match was she didn't let the emotions overtake her. You could see she wanted those emotions to overtake her, but she stayed in heel mode. She didn't start to babyface it, which I loved, because Jade Cargill as a heel is going to work. This is the thing we've been waiting for. Jade Cargill as a heel, just mowing over people. But I've been talking about Dominik Mysterio. Dominik Mysterio retains the Intercontinental Championship. First, we had that great fake out chair spot in the match where he tries to do the fake chair thing and the referee reminds him, it's no DQ, idiot. He throws the chair to Rusev and then hits the mat and does the Eddie spot, and the referee's like, it's no DQ. And Dominik goes, oh, no, and now Rusev's got the chair, right? So Dominik escapes. Well, he gets hit with the chair a bunch of times, and then he escapes. Rusev locks Penta in the Accolade. And then the bell starts ringing, but I knew immediately. Because it's not, WWE has a very specific bell sound. Bing, bing, bing. But this was bing, 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 bing. And Rusev lets him go and puts his arms in the air, and I was like, this is great. And I loved that there was no reveal. I loved that there was no camera over there. And we realize it's Dominik Mysterio who has rung the bell. Dominik Mysterio, because the referee, Danilo, whoever the referee was, I didn't say that. I didn't call for the bell. Rusev says, I felt him tapping. Danilo says, I didn't see him tapping. And now he's mad. So Michael Cole is saying, I don't know. I think he just got Rusev mad. I don't see what sense that makes, but the plan all laid out. Everybody got all distracted. Everybody got convoluted. Dominik ends up escaping Rusev. He grabs the hammer, but before he can pick it up, Penta's got his foot over it. Now Penta is holding that ring bell hammer. They should really just get an electronic bell at this point. That hammer, it's too peligroso. But Penta goes to hit Dominik with the hammer, and then boom, Dominik ducks. Rusev gets knocked out with the hammer, while Penta's saying, what did I do? Dominik throws him into the post. Frog Splash pins Rusev. 1, 2, 3, Dominik retains. And here's the big difference. The commentators were putting Dominik over as smart. Michael Cole was putting Dominik over as smart. There was a time when Michael Cole would say that, that bastard, that idiot, what a worm, what a sneak. Now, Michael Cole was putting over what a genius move it was for Dominik Mysterio. And that's not because Michael Cole is a heel. Although he heeled out on Joe Tessitore a little bit. That was because, which was awesome. That was because, it was very funny. That was because Dom's changing, because there's a recognition of the fact that the fans are cheering for Dominik Mysterio. Dominik Mysterio is a babyface. Needs to be a babyface right now. Ahora. Dominik Mysterio he just is a babyface. And there's almost a disconnect when he does heel things and he wins matches, because fans know that they're supposed to be booing him, but they really want to cheer him. Like, you hear them going crazy in his entrance. But then when he wins a match like that, fans are like, we want to boo because that's what we're supposed to do, but we're not booing Dominik. It's not happening. It's gone from like, Dominik can't talk because he's getting booed so hard to like, we're not booing that guy. We're not going to do it. Right? Which is why I don't want Dominik Mysterio in the Cena tournament. I don't. I want Dominik Mysterio to have his own match with John Cena. While everybody's figuring out this tournament, everybody's figuring out who's going to be John Cena's last match. John Cena can have a second to last match. John Cena's going to be in San Diego for Survivor Series. Who represents San Diego? The Padres. Dominik Mysterio. I think John Cena should say straight up, there is one title that I haven't gotten the whole time in my WWE career. I have never been Intercontinental Champion. And I want to be able to say that I've done it. And I don't know what that's going to mean. I don't know where it's going to go, but that's a goal that I have. So Dominik Mysterio, I'm laying down the challenge. And he can even lay down the challenge in Boston, right? And that way Dominik's not in the tournament because we know we're getting that Intercontinental Championship match. And here's the thing. Because we are in this rare moment where we are on the precipice of Dominik Mysterio fully turning babyface, I want Dominik Mysterio to beat John Cena. And that's it. I mean, John Cena had his past with Rey Mysterio. John Cena had his past with Eddie Guerrero. Let's pay it forward. Dominik Mysterio versus John Cena for the Intercontinental title. And we all go, man, this is what the reaction is going to be. We all want to see John Cena get the Intercontinental title, and we think he's going to get it, but none of us want to see Dominik Mysterio lose. As much as we want to see John Cena win the Intercontinental Championship, we don't want to see Dominik Mysterio lose. And then Dominik Mysterio doesn't lose. There is no reason why John Cena should not lose his last 2 matches. And I don't think that it takes anything away from that final John Cena match to have him lose to Dominik Mysterio. If anything, should John Cena lose to Dominik Mysterio at Survivor Series, more of us will think he's going to win his final match because he already lost to Dominik Mysterio. And it will create more of a discussion around that final John Cena match. But if it's up to me, this is the moment that we go, okay, we're going all the way with Dominik Mysterio. Dominik Mysterio defends the Intercontinental Championship against John Cena in San Diego at Survivor Series, and Dominik Mysterio beats John Cena in John's second to last match in WWE. That's something that I want to see. And what can I tell you? And I think it's not just because I love Dom, because I've been on the Dom bandwagon since day one. It's because the more I think about it, the more I go, it is truly what is the right thing to do for business. And somebody like Dominik Mysterio will get that jolt, will get that rub, will get that energy. Dominik Mysterio is about to enter the next phase in his career, where he is a babyface and he is a big star. And since he is on the precipice of that and already going there, why not let a John Cena loss, a victory for Dominik Mysterio, add a little jet fuel to the rocket? Maybe even rocket fuel. I'm not a pilot. I don't know what kind of fuel they take. It'll be Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Whatever it is, Dominik Mysterio beats John Cena at Survivor Series. Let me know what you think. My email address is notsamwrestling@gmail.com. I feel like I've given you a lot of hot takes today. Notsamwrestling@gmail.com is my email address. So if you'd like to email in the podcast, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast across all audio platforms and subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/notsamwrestling. Tell all your friends about it. Leave comments on the videos, leave reviews on the podcast, and let's keep this thing going. Give me a second, guys. We'll get back to it momentarily. But if you're a nicotine person, and there are all kinds of people using nicotine to just give them that charge in the morning sometimes. Some people they're replacing their coffee with it. Well, I got to tell you about Lucy. About Lucy and about Lucy Breakers. 100% pure nicotine that's always tobacco-free. Lucy Breakers, yeah, these are nicotine pouches with an extra surprise. See, each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration. I have the mint ones right here. All kinds of different flavors. They also have different strengths. You can keep it chill. You can give yourself a bigger kick. As an adult, you know what works for you. And on the website, they tell you how much is a lot and how much is, just right. It's easy. Set yourself up with a subscription, and you can have Lucy delivered straight to your door. If you wanted to, have something in the morning, it'll be there every time you need it. Let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. You go to lucy.co/notsam and use promo code notsam to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co and use code notsam to get 20% off. Now, here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, This product contains nicotine, and nicotine is an addictive chemical. Let's see. We've got this one's coming in from Mark, who writes, I've been a listener and a fan of yours for the past 11 years. I love it. Following the many evolutions of Notsam Wrestling and your work across SiriusXM, WWE Kickoffs, The Bump, Raw Recap with Megan, it's inspiring to see how your talent, insight, and unique voice have steadily elevated you into what I'd consider the premier wrestling analyst and color commentator in the business today. Well, for that, there's only one thing to say. Also, Podcast Tribal Chief, as someone who's enjoyed your podcast from the beginning, I've noticed how how naturally you blend sharp analysis with humor, perspective, and the kind of personality that makes wrestling so special, which brings me to my question. By the way, I didn't need a question. You could have kept talking for days. Do you aspire to eventually take on a regular role as color commentator for Raw, SmackDown, or NXT? And beyond that, have you ever thought about leaning into a more postmodern Bobby Heenan type of role? Over the years, especially in interviews, you've sometimes come across as kind of an unintentional protagonist. And I think that you'd be incredible as a heel commentator or even the classic Weasel manager mold that Heenan perfected, but in a way that's uniquely your own. Thank you for all the content perspective you share every week. It's made being a wrestling fan that much better. Thank you very much, Mark. I do believe that some of the skills that I possess are God has blessed me with what some may refer to as a punchable face. I think I can't help myself very often and say things that irritate people when I realize that they're going to irritate people. So to that respect, I do feel seen by you. I appreciate the question. I will say that in terms of being a regular role as a color commentator for Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, those are not things that I have any control over. And being a postmodern Bobby Heenan or a Weasel manager, whatever. I don't have any control over any of that. I like to, I enjoy positioning myself in a way that hopefully opportunities will present themselves. And then I can look at those opportunities, see what they are, and make the absolute most out of all of them. I've only ever really attempted to maintain being Sam Roberts and to try to eke out a living being Sam Roberts. And so far, I've been successful. The last thing that I want to do is upset the apple cart and try to be something else, if that makes sense. However, I wouldn't have imagined that being my idiot self would take me to the places I have been, and therefore I could never begin to predict where they may in the future. But I very much appreciate all your kind words. And it really does mean a lot. That's very, very nice, and I appreciate that. Andy writes in, hey, QB1. Appreciate that. I am the QB1 of podcasts. I am the OPTC, but I think we should let everybody know, too. As far as wrestling podcasts go, I'm QB1. So you can absolutely start referring to me as the OPTC QB1. OPTC1, QB1. Yeah, that would be me. That's very accurate, Andy. I think it's time you added a new sound effect. It's been too long. Oh, there it is. Well, you're very, very smart. Enough! That's what I want to talk about. Enough! And that I might have to hit you with a Cody when some of these emails get long and not great. However, those last two emails have been great. Sid writes in, Sydney, to the real podcast general. I'll take that too. I am the podcast general, like the ring general, but the podcast general. I am that. Yeah, I am that. Who do you think you are? I am. One face popped up in Cena's tournament who has yet to return, and I can see this as a path to Mania. Gunther wins the tournament. He beats Cena. I'm with you, obviously. Takes the momentum into winning the Rumble after coming so close in recent years. Maybe. Faces Punk at Mania, the man who beat him for the world title. Thoughts? Not for me. I like Roman and Punk more than I like Gunther and Punk. And here's the thing with Gunther. It's like if you don't want to pull the trigger on a world title match if it's not time. You know what I mean? Like that's going to become such a rare air thing if Gunther is able to win the tournament that it's almost like I'd rather see the Ilya Dragunov match happen at WrestleMania because that'll be one of those moments where Gunther will still be the man. He almost becomes an attraction because he just destroys everybody. And then Ilya will not beat Gunther at WrestleMania, but he will put on the show of all shows, the same way like Drew and Sheamus and all those guys just like put on these amazing matches with Gunther, and it pushed them to another level. I think if Ilya just has an amazing match with Gunther and loses, it's still amazing for Ilya, especially if he turns heel right after WrestleMania and attacks Cody Rhodes. Okay. Bo sent me full-on brackets. This bracket isn't exactly the order of the matches, just my prediction. Okay, he's got Obafemi, Braun Breaker, Moose, Javon Evans, Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, Dominik, Leon Slater, Edge, Gunther, Jordan Grace, and Miles Bourne. Come on, dude. This isn't a serious thing. First of all, half the people on this bracket, I mean... no! So let's go over this, all right? You got Mike Santana, Matt Cardona, Miles Bourne, Jordan Grace, Edge, Leon Slater. I mean, there's like Moose. There's like 6 or 7 people, and I think I mentioned a couple, Jordan Grace, but there's like 6 people out of 16 are not in WWE. Let me count how many main roster people. Out of 16 people, how many are main roster? Braun Breaker. I mean, Dom, Gunther, Jacob Fatu, and The Miz. You've got 5 out of 16. 5 are on the main roster. You've put together a match to start, which is Braun Breaker versus Obafemi. So your idea to debut Obafemi is to have him in a match with Braun Breaker. How the hell do you get out of Obafemi versus Braun Breaker? How on earth do you get out of that? You got 2 guys that you want to position to be world champion. I mean, and then what are you going to do? Have Braun beat Oba? And then he's got to... dude. Dom versus Leon... Edge versus Gunther? Edge is under contract to another organization. And he's got Gunther in the first round. So you're either going to have Gunther return to get beat by Edge, or you're going to have Edge come over from AEW somehow to lose to Gunther in the first round. I don't even somewhat understand that. Jordan Grace versus Miles Bourne. So all of a sudden we're doing intergender matches. And then, come on, dude. No! This literally makes no sense. I appreciate it. Let's see. This bracket isn't exactly the order of the match, just my predictions of who could be in the running. I know a woman won't be viable, but I couldn't not put Jordan Grace as a contender. No, buddy. No. This is ridiculous. I appreciate you putting that bracket together. I appreciate you emailing in, and I appreciate all of it. But this is just how I speak to the people I love. Lewis writes in, greetings, Sam from the UK. Started listening after Elimination Chamber. Now never miss an episode. With Drew McIntyre potentially needing a shakeup after losing another big match, could you see Drew winning the last time is now tournament, and then the story becomes John Cena trying to bring back the 2020 hero Drew McIntyre and save him from the heel run? No, I love Drew as a heel, but feel like this would be a good move for him. I mean, no. And it's funny because, like, that's not so far off from what I had, right? I do have Drew getting to the finals of the tournament. And I do have Drew becoming a babyface because of what happens in the finals of the tournament. But no, I mean, I don't think, Drew becoming a babyface because John Cena wants him to is a little too wholesome for me. I think I'd rather see Gunther and John Cena and then Drew going all the way in the tournament, but, that change coming a little bit more organically. Let's go to Carson, who writes in, do you think there'll be wrestlers from different companies that will compete in the Last Time Is Now tournament? Well, I think, like I said, from TNA and AAA, I would think. Is it Tommy Invincible time? Now, look, do I think Tommy Invincible is going to be in the tournament? No, I do not. However, I think we're going to get some dope-ass Instagram content now that he knows that you can have people from other spots. And honestly, stranger things have happened. Is it possible? It's possible. I think exceptionally unlikely, but it's possible. Do you think Edge is still a possibility? No, I don't think Edge ever was a possibility. I was hoping for an Edge return, but I don't see Edge making a huge return to do a tournament to face Cena. He is, to my knowledge, and has always been, under contract to AEW. Lastly, what do you think of the sick picture of Jade Punk, Saints, and Cody. It showed me this. If you showed me this picture a few years ago, I wouldn't believe you. Oh, thank you, Kaysen. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Was my thoughts exactly. And I think that photo, I think it took me out of the sort of, it allowed me to see the forest through the trees. It allowed me to look at this from a higher perspective, right? In the moment, we're all just, well, why didn't this happen? Why didn't that happen? And then you well, nothing ever happens. How come nothing ever happens? And then you look at this picture, right? Because you will hear that. Nothing happens anymore. When nothing ever happens. And then you look at that photo and you're like, how on earth did this happen? It's all happening. It's just we're moving so quick. Let's go to the next one, and it is, Ahmed from Riyadh. All right. Are you going to be at WrestleMania next year? Not the year after next? I hope so. The WWE Championship has been held by two GOATs and one of the most over wrestlers of all time. I believe it's been elevated so much that it can't be carried by most. In my view, in the current SmackDown roster, only Brock Lesnar, Drew, and Randy Orton can carry it after Cody. I guess after this Saturday night's main event, Drew is out of the picture for some time, but Randy needs to be built back up, and we don't know if Brock is seen as the person to carry the championship because of his schedule. For now, I don't think people who are looked at as world champion material like Sami Zayn or Jacob Uso or even Logan Paul, as good as they are, can follow Cody. Seems like we may have a credible challenger issue at SmackDown unless they bring someone big from Raw. What are your thoughts? I hope to see you in Riyadh for Royal Rumble. Oh, that's right. You guys get Rumble. I don't know if we're going to make it over there for Rumble. Hopefully, if we don't, hopefully for Mania. If we do, let's make it a point, Ahmed. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's like I said. I think some shakeups need to happen. You know, I think an Ilya heel turn. I think a Sammy heel turn. I think a Drew babyface turn. Like, I think a Randy heel turn eventually. I think some shakeups happening would help that scenario a lot. But clearly, I've seen the same thing that you have, my friend. Mike writes in, our podcast tribal chief. What's up, brother? How are you doing? Color me a conspiracist. In the essence of everything counts, what are your thoughts on that Game 7 of the World Series actually played into CM Punk winning the title on the same night? He was the assumed winner and Jey Uso was the winner with maybe more storytelling involved. Any chance WWE kept that storytelling for another day or time that might be more memorable and impactful? No, Mike, I definitely don't. I like you being a conspiracist, as you put it. I like everything counts. But no, I mean, CM Punk winning the world title is a huge deal. There were some that would say that they didn't think CM Punk was going to win because they thought the moment required something even bigger than Saturday night's main event. I disagreed when I heard that. But no, I mean, look, I think that there's a good possibility that Saturday night's main event started at 7 instead of 8 because of the World Series. I don't know if that's true, but I think that's possible. But no, I don't think that they waited to see if Toronto and Los Angeles were going to go to a Game 7 to determine who was going to be their world champion. No, I do not think that happened. Lenny writes in, hope you had a fun Halloween. I did, thank you very much. This tournament for Cena's final opponent can lead to a lot of fun possibilities with guys from all over the competing matches. My question is, your ideal Final Four if it consists of one Raw, one SmackDown, one NXT, and one elsewhere. Well, I don't think that's really how tournaments work, obviously. But one Raw, one SmackDown. Well, I mean, I had Javon Evans, Drew McIntyre, Gunther, and LA Knight. So I guess if you replaced LA Knight with Joe Hendry, I guess. But I don't think you need that Final Four, you know. To really, okay, this is a very long email. We're going to skip that. David writes in, oh, it's Super Dave. Just wanted to say, even though I'm not entirely sure what a podcast tribal chief is, I will always respect a true wrestling fan. Well, podcast tribal chief is very similar to the QB1 of podcasts and even more similar to the podcast general. I hope that clears things up. Since we're supposed to wildly speculate, and maybe you already covered this, if so, I apologize. I'll simply leave you with a question to ponder. What if Chris Jericho is the new leader of the Vision? That's possible, but I don't necessarily see it. Let's see. All right, this is the last one. I'm not doing this one for the last one. Let's see if this is, nah. Let's see. Okay. Hi, my podcast tribal chief, Brennan from South Africa. Love it, love it, love it. My question is, can you see Logan Paul capturing a world title in 2026? And if so, how would you book it? I would have him winning Money in the Bank next year and cash in on the same night in the WWE title main event. And I would have him cashing in on either Randy Orton or Drew McIntyre, either of whom I can see successfully defending the championship in the main event. I would agree with that sentiment. I do think that Logan Paul could be a world champion. I think I've thought that he should win the Money in the Bank a couple of times. I absolutely, as far off as we are, Money in the Bank is not until September of next year. But if you had to pick right now, if I had to pick right now, I think Logan Paul would be a phenomenal pick to win the Money in the Bank ladder match. Because, it would be like old school Miz winning the Money in the Bank ladder match. Because it's one of those things where now we kind of know, oh my God, he is going to be world champion. And we're all mad about it. And the whole time he's holding the briefcase, we're mad that we know it's inevitable. But it is inevitable and it is going to happen. Also, he could have the briefcase, in the room every time he does the Impulsive podcast, every time he does all of his stuff. And it would make it so that even though he's not on every show, even though he's not on every PLE, he's the exact type of person that we go, and then what if Logan Paul shows up? Because a great Money in the Bank briefcase holder, every time you're talking about a pay-per-view, every time you're talking about the title match there, some guy in the room goes, and then what if so-and-so shows up? And Logan Paul, I think, would bring back that sort of, and don't have him show up every single time. I'm tired. I love the idea that he could show up. I hate false cash-ins. They're so annoying. But yeah, I'm with it. I would love to see Logan Paul win the Money in the Bank briefcase. Let me know what you think. Again, it's notsamwrestling@gmail.com. Please subscribe across all audio platforms, Apple, Spotify, everywhere. If you go on the SiriusXM app, if you got Sirius, you get 3 months free. You can get all the podcasts there. This podcast is there. The Not Sam Wrestling radio show is there. Raw Recap is there. My non-wrestling shows are there, so you can check that out. And, of course, the YouTube channel, youtube.com/NotSamWrestling. Subscribe, leave comments, hit like, and we'll see you next time here on Not Sam Wrestling.